Welcome back. This is a pretty dark story, but let's get started. Back in 1995, I was working as a motorsport marketing manager for NGK spark plugs right here in Southern California. Part of my responsibility at the company was to handle the logistics and support of our various trade shows, such as the SEMA show, the APEX show, and even the PRI show, among others. Frankly, I found this to be mostly a nuisance to me because my real job was providing marketing and technical support to our sponsored racers in various channels of motorsports. That's where all the fun was. At the time, we were sponsoring many racers and people like Bobby Rahal, who was competing in Champ Car, Indy Series, Blaine Johnson, and other NHRA Top Fuel racers, as well as other top contestants in everything from jet ski and snowmobile racing to even chainsaw competitions. So I was traveling all over the country, young, totally into motorsports of any kind, and just having a good time. That story is coming up right after the break. Confession, I hate cleaning my own cars. That's why I love Adams Polishes. Whatever you want to clean, polish, or shine, Adams has a specific product just for that, even for matte finishes. Since 2000, Adams Polishes has been offering premium car care products dedicated to the enthusiast. Whether you're a professional detailer or a weekend warrior, their innovative and effective products will enable you to achieve amazing results on your prized possession. Adams, made with pride and passion in the USA. Despite the distraction of having to deal with trade shows, I really did enjoy the SEMA show, especially the part when we were getting ready to interview the pretty ladies who were all vying to be our poster girl for that year's show. You gotta remember, back in those days, many companies in racing had umbrella girls or poster girls. All these companies at shows would typically have these girls wear their merchandise in a catalog shoot and then come to certain trade shows to help draw people into their booths. That's the way it was back then. That goes back decades. They were there basically just to meet, greet, and sign autographs for their poster. Each year we would recruit a new Miss NGK, so that was kind of a small little fun thing, especially for a young guy. In the midsummer of 1995, though, the interviews started for the next round. We brought in ladies into a conference room and interviewed each one of them. A female employee was always present in these interviews, and everything was done totally professionally. There was no funny business, and everything was on the up and up. Sometimes we'd re-interview the finalists to make a decision. In 1995, that's exactly what happened. And one of the ladies we called back was a lovely former Los Angeles Raider cheerleader, Miss Linda Sobek, who was about 27 years old at the time, as I recall. I was never a Raider fan, and so it's not like I saw her on TV during a Raider game or anything like that. So she was basically completely unknown to me, although she did mention that she was auditioning for a part on one of my favorite TV shows back at that time, which was called Married with Children. That's why I remembered her. I was traveling most of the rest of that summer, so I did not learn of the outcome of the interviews and who we actually hired as our Miss NGK until I showed up at the 1995 SEMA show. The SEMA show that year ran from October 31st, 1995 to November 3rd. After each SEMA show, we would typically shoot photos of the model that we hired for our apparel line, and all those pictures were featured in the back of our print catalog each year. Buy this t-shirt, buy this, that kind of stuff. That was the first year one of my own cars was in a booth at the show, so I was very distracted, and I really didn't pay much attention to our Miss NGK that year, so I don't even remember what her name was. I just remembered Linda. The girl that I liked was not in our booth, so I was really disappointed, and I really just didn't give it another thought. But about 2 or 3 weeks later, a news report came on the television and mentioned that Linda was missing, and I recognized the name immediately. It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I just had a really bad feeling. 8 days later, it was announced that the person who last saw her alive, an automotive photographer, led police to a shallow grave in the Angeles National Forest. Things got cloudy pretty quickly, but details quickly emerged, and basically it was a well-known car photographer, a dude named Charles Rathbun. He had hired Linda for a shoot of a Lexus 450 SUV. Rathbun, turns out, has shot for many magazines back then, including Sport Truck, Chevy Truck, Auto Week, Car and Driver, and even Motor Trend, so I remember seeing his name in the byline. Linda took the gig outside of her modeling agency, so when she didn't return home after the shoot, no one knew where she was and who she was with and when she was supposed to be back. None of her friends, None of her family or her modeling agency had any more details, and they just didn't know who she was with. That morning, though, she informed her mother that she was running late for a photo shoot, and then she just took off and she just never came back, and so people were looking for her. Eventually, a road crew worker near the Angeles National Forest was emptying some trash cans in the park area when he discovered photographs, professional photographs, and her date book inside of a trash can, and a lien on a Lexus 450 SUV. This road crew guy got suspicious and called local police and furnished the recovered items to them to take a look at. Police soon tracked the Lexus SUV to Rathbun. Rathbun, for his part, claims he accidentally killed Miss Sobek while demonstrating high-speed maneuvers for a photo shoot for Auto Week magazine on a dry lake bed. He would claim that he was trying to teach her to do donuts, but that story unraveled quickly. DNA in the back of the SUV revealed that she had been brutally sexually violated and strangled. Her blood alcohol content level was 0.13%, which police seemed to suggest that she was basically fed alcohol to loosen up before the events took a really dark turn. During the investigation, Rathbun repeatedly told police that it was an accident, that he had run over Sobek with the borrowed SUV while trying to teach her how to perform a stunt during a photo shoot. But a deputy coroner concluded that she had been raped with a foreign object and asphyxiated, and that was the cause of death. There was actually no damage to the car, so how did he hit her? At that point, he said he panicked and he just buried her body in a shallow grave. The judge in the case ordered Rathbun to stand trial for the killing, but he banned prosecutors from using Rathbun's confessions because the judge said the police ignored his repeated requests for a lawyer and used psychological pressure to coerce his statements. A search of his home then revealed that he had more than 200 guns. Nobody needs 200 guns. I have guns. I don't need 200. During his trial, Rathbun said that he had 5 rolls of film that he had hid in the desert that he claimed could prove that the sex was consensual to try and unravel this. When the detectives finally got their hands on the rolls of film, they sent them out to an aerospace company which scanned them and magnified the images, which proved that it was not Linda Sobek in the pictures, and the pictures were of another woman from another time. Never heard what happened with that. A jury convicted him a few months later, and while the death penalty was suggested, he was sentenced instead to life in prison and still sits in a jail cell to this day, some 27 years later. Again, I don't recall why we didn't end up signing Linda. I wasn't there for that. I was on the road. Perhaps scheduling conflicts, or perhaps my bosses just decided on another girl over Linda. That had to have happened because we didn't have her. But what haunts me to this day is this. If Linda had been signed by NGK, she would have gone to the SEMA show with us from October 3rd to November 3rd at least. And then a couple of weeks after SEMA, this is the time that she would have been in a photo studio shooting pictures while modeling our polo shirts, our t-shirts, her windbreakers, and doing shoots for the posters. Our photo studio shoot very possibly would have happened during the week that Linda was ultimately murdered. Over the years, NGK had many Miss NGKs, but by the early 2000s, the practice of having models and booths and trade shows started to become less popular. So the world has changed. Many of the girls who could be doing modeling now have to turn to social media influencers. Some are doing very well. And more recently, OnlyFans. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had a daughter, I'd much rather have her be a paid model or a social influencer rather than showing her Twinkie on the internet. But maybe I'm old-fashioned. Either way, this was a very tragic story, and it's not the last one you're going to hear.